You're watching Rurouni K95's anime review on Darling in the Franxx. Hi Ruronis, this is your pal Rurouni K95 here. Today's anime review, we get to cover a 2018 anime TV series. For today's anime review is Darling in the Franxx. Darling in the Franxx is a 2018 Japanese science fiction romance anime television series co-produced by A1 Pictures and Trigger and animated by Trigger and Cloverworks that premiered on January 13, 2018. The series was announced at Trigger's Anime Expo 2017 panel on July 2017, particularly for Darling in the Franxx, if you ever see the series. A manga adaptation by Kentaro Yabuki and another four-panel comic strip manga began serialization on January 14th, 2018. Yep. So, Darling in the Franxx particularly has capsulated only 24 episodes from January 13, 2018 to July 7th, 2018 as well. So, Darling in the Franxx is particularly an original sci-fi anime co-production between Studio Trigger and A1 Pictures, directed by Atsutoshi Nishigori, who was known for Tengen Toppa, Gurren Lagann, FLCL, Evangelion 1.0 movie, etc., with many mecha designs were designed particularly by Shigito Koyama, who became friend Amos after his designs for Star Driver with Nishigori and Naotaka Hayashi handling the series composition and Masayoshi Tanaka designing the characters. Hiroyuki Imashi, one of the co-founders for Studio Trigger as well, serving as an action animation director, and Asami Tachibana composing the music. The series was announced at Trigger's Anime Expo 2017 in July 2017, with the first episode airing on January 2018, with the length of 24 episode running time. So let's talk about the story as well. Yeah, so for the plot, particularly on Darling in the Franxx, however, for the series, it's about how it pushed to the brink of extinction in a post-apocalyptic world. Humanity is under constant threat from a giant creatures known as the Calaxosaurs, which are subdivided into four categories based on their size. Conrad, Mohorovic, Gutenberg, and Super Lehman has pushed into the brink of annihilation. Parasites, particularly what you see in Darling in the Franxx, they are basically eh, are raised to pilot giant mecha known as Franxx. In boy-girl pairs, a male parasite is termed as stamen, and a female parasite is referred to as pistil. The male and female parts of a flower. Parasites are artificially created and have short lifespans. A team of 10 parasites is assigned to the experimental Squad 13 of Plantation 13. One of them, Hiro, is a former pilot candidate prodigy who can no longer synchronize with his partner, and they both fail to complete with the training program. While skipping his squad's graduation ceremony, Hiro encounters Zero Two, who is an elite Franxx pilot with Calaxosaur blood, red horns, and an infamous reputation as the partner killer. It is rumored that Zero Two's partners are killed after pairing with her by the third time, particularly. By this time, shortly after, a Calaxosaur attacks, disrupting Hiro's graduation ceremony and leaving Zero Two's partner killed in action. Despite the rumors, Hiro volunteers to become her new partner, or as Zero Two calls him, her darling, which is a lot more different in the same way how Lum refers to Ataru Moroboshi as her darling in the Urusei Yatsura series. But Darling in the Franxx, however, it's a lot more different, but I would basically call Darling in the Franxx as to the extent to other animes, like either Eureka 7 or Gurren Lagann or Evangelion in general, particularly. So that's the plot for the story on particularly what is basically how it's set in a distant future. The world is ruined and humanity and it establishes mobile fort cities called plantations. Yep. Islets produced inside plantations in Mistilteinn, which is known as the birdcage. Yep. Children living know nothing of the outside world or the freedom of the sky particularly. Their enemies are mysterious giant life forms known as Kalaxosaur, and the children pilot machines called the Franxx to face off against them. For the children who pilot the machines, the sole reason is to prove their own existence, that desolating the future or not knowing if they will see any day of tomorrow. The world is one of the strong points in the show and contains elements and are explained to ready at a steady pace in each episode with purpose of making the viewer to understand how its mechanics, principles, and laws work and interact with the story and characters. I mean, the characters to get the viewer familiar with the characters of the first couple of episodes, the anime displays their ordinary lives activities in those bird cages and the specific bonds that are formed between them. If we take each character apart, we will notice that Zero Two steals the spotlight each time she appears on screen, leaving the other characters in a con of shadow to compensate for that huge gap. The anime focuses on the bonds between them and how will influence their further development into that world. The anime allocates time in each episode to dive into each other character and display their reasons for piloting the Franxx. And depending your own interpretation, you may hate them or love them. There are some heartwarming moments that enforce the bond between our characters that you expect. If you ever like any certain character from Darling in the Franxx, or if you don't like any character from Darling in the Franxx, particularly if you ever watch the series, expect something like what is going on in Darling in the Franxx, to explain about what it is for this anime series as the own experience as a Franxx pilot and what made him that person that he is today. There are really marvelous slice of life moments that all you expect seeing what is going on to if you ever love and appreciate Darling in the Franxx, if you ever see the series as well. Our characters, as they dive into further into the void that the world filled with destruction, where each day is a battle of survival, discover and learn different emotions that they aren't familiar with it, such as love, bond, affection, compassion, and family, as well, if you ever see Darling in the Franxx. Those emotions became their new sole reason of existence, replacing the old one with their lives were at stake each day. Their fight is not over yet, but this time, this is not a fight, but for the selfish adults, but for their own future, and to create a place filled with smiles and a place called home. The bonds that are basically formed between the characters and their experience principles that they form for themselves during the fights with the Kalaxosaurs, you guessed it. What is it with Kalaxosaurs in this anime? Well, that is the question, became the foundation for their development and the growth as characters across the show. I mean, the visual and the audio, however, the show starts off with the visual metamorpher to captivate the attention of the viewers, which later became a narrative monologue, a metamorpher, part of the story and the main plot of Darling in the Franxx. The visual vocabulary is rich and attractive, having an important role for telling us a long-forgotten bond between Zero Two and Hiro, which is the main attraction of the anime. The visual, story, and audio together manage to take the viewer through different stages of emotions and connect them to each character's experience, which is basically will take it to the next level. I mean, if you ever you like what is going on, particularly to explain what it is about Darling in the Franxx, particularly. I mean, this anime series particularly has to the extent of either Eureka 7 or Gurren Lagann or Neon Genesis Evangelion in general because of the whole mecha designs that they were designed for this anime series like Darling in the Franxx. If you ever see the series as well as you reach to the next level as well. Yep. The opening song is damn good, especially the one for the second half where the visual metamorphoses are damn juicy for the audience who enjoys that kind of stuff. I mean, for the thing about Darling in the Franxx, however, the anime series adaptation is the 24 episode anime series was directed by Atsushi Nishigori, with Nishigori and Naotaka Hayashi handling the series compositions, particularly Masayoshi Tanaka designing the characters and the characters, Shigeto Koyama acting as a mechanical designer, Hiroyuki Imaishi serving as an action and animation director, and Asami Tachibana composing the music, particularly as well. Crunchyroll has simulcasted the series, while Funimation has licensed the series, and it was streamed with an English dub, as well as Anime Asia simulcasted the series in the Southeast Asia, particularly for the anime series like Darling in the Franxx, particularly as well. Yep. The series soundtrack is composed by Asami Tachibana and was published by Aniplex. The first disc was containing the 21st tracks was enclosed with the first home video release of the anime volume of the anime, which was released on April 25th, 2018. At this point, if you ever see Darling in the Franxx, you might want to check out this anime because this particularly anime has elements of action, sci-fi, comedy, drama, romance, and the coming of age. I mean, Crunchyroll has gave the series a 4.3 out of 5 stars because, there are elements. But I noticed there's some moments in this anime series as well. I mean, because Darling in the Franxx is how one of those important anime titles that came out in 2018, which is probably during the late 2010s type anime, which is probably up until other newer animes like Beastars and Fire Force arrived as well. But for Darling in the Franxx, however, I mean, the character 02 says darling, which has sounded familiar to the character of Lum from Urusei Yatsura, just like how it's the basic main inspiration that is from the other anime, which makes it sound familiar just because, 02 has pink hair and she has red horns because she's basically has Calaxosaur blood in her because Darling in the Franxx is a lot different, though, because this anime series, particularly, again, made by Studio Trigger, which is known for Kill la Kill, particularly for this particular anime series as well. And yes, because Darling in the Franxx only has like 24 episodes as well, you guessed it. I mean, when I first watched Darling in the Franxx, I was like, this anime only has 24 episodes. I mean, come to think of it, this has got an English dub by Funimation because, Darling in the Franxx is considered to be one of the current anime titles right next to Attack on Titan or many anime titles in general that Funimation has a lot to do with as well. If you haven't seen Darling in the Franxx, I highly recommend you to watch it on either Crunchyroll or if you can get it on DVD and Blu-ray that is released by Funimation, because Darling in the Franxx only has like 24 episodes on there from January 2018 to July 2018 as well, which is, you guessed it, as well. So that's going to be it for my anime review on Darling in the Franxx for today's anime review. Thank you for watching, but before we go, here's my thoughts for Darling in the Franxx. When I first watched the show, I was surprised and it was amusing when I first watched Darling in the Franxx. I mean, there is rich and narrative plots, as well as there are some moments and there's some slice of life moments as well as some action in this particular anime like Darling in the Franxx. If you haven't seen it, check it out. If you can watch it on Crunchyroll, if you can get it on DVD or Blu-ray as well. Subscribe for content. My anime plan link in the description below. You can share this video on our Twitter, Facebook. If you have Twitter, Facebook account, all social media, be sure to give this video a thumbs up by clicking on the like button on this video. Feel free to leave in the comments in the comment section. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, RoniK95. Feel free to join my channel, especially new to my channel. Hit the notifications bell button. Keep it otaku for this anime review. We got another anime review coming up next. Stay tuned for my next anime review. I got another anime series that I haven't done a review on, starting with tomorrow's anime review on Riddle, Story of the Devil. Stay tuned for my next anime review on Riddle, Story of Devil, because you won't want to miss another anime review.